This is the Wellness Club, where we dive into all things wellness, from nutrition to fitness to productivity and more. We are exploring the science to help you feel your best inside and out. I'm your host, Cass Camp, and I am so happy that you're here. Welcome to the club. Hello and welcome to the Wellness Club. My name is Cass. Thank you so much for being here. Today's episode is going to get a little bit personal because I'm pulling back the curtain, pun intended, on how I became a dance teacher completely by accident. I never once planned to become a teacher. Never in a million years. If you would have told me 10 years ago that I'm a teacher now, I would have looked at you like, are you serious? I do not believe you. That's crazy. Teachers are people that wear collared shirts every day and florals and scented perfume and like these different things that I just associated with my teachers. And I never once thought that that was going to be me. Don't get me wrong. I loved my teachers. I loved school. I was one of those kids that just loved school. I loved homework. I loved going to school, but I never thought that I would become a teacher, especially a dance teacher. But it's one of those things that if you looked at my life from the outside perspective, like if there was a TV show of my life, you would look at this kid and be like, that makes total sense for her. But in the moment, I never even once thought about teaching. I was one of those kids that had a plan coming out of the womb. I knew exactly what I wanted to do with my life. I knew exactly how I was going to do it, where I was going to do it. I had a plan. And the spoiler alert is none of that plan happened. But it's one of those things that it really proves everything happens for a reason, because I could not be happier in my life now, but it was never something that I even thought or considered of doing. And it kind of just fell into my lap, and I absolutely love what I do, and it makes total sense now. But in the moment, it didn't make so much sense. Now, growing up, I was that typical arts kid. I started dancing when I was 3. I tried every different style. I danced for years. When I got into middle school and high school, I did band, I did theater, I did musicals, I started singing, I did everything arts related, and I absolutely loved it. Like, I truly loved every moment of it. When most people get nervous being in front of people or being on stage, I am the complete opposite. It like truly lights me up, and it's just a gift that I was born with. I don't really have any secrets to it. It's just a part of me. And I've always just loved it. Like, I really feel excitement being in front of people. I feel excited performing, and it's always just something that I stuck with. But I wasn't that dance mom's kid. Like, if you've seen dance moms, you know that it can be cutthroat and that competition life. My dance experience was not like that at all. It was just fun. It was just something that I enjoyed. My mom was super normal about it. Like, she didn't even know how to braid hair. So I was the one learning how to braid my hair and doing makeup and experimenting with all these different looks because I was just figuring it out. But I made amazing friends through it. I got to learn all different styles of dance, and it was just something fun. And I think a huge thing that dance teaches kids is confidence, because you're forced to go on stage and be confident, or at least pretend you're confident. And that's what I really try to teach my students now, even if none of them ever dance again outside of my class. Doing dance and performing in shows makes you confident. It makes you stronger. It makes you more comfortable with yourself. It makes you expressive. And that's what I love about it. But I always just danced for fun. And as I got older, through high school and middle school, I started choreographing things for the schools. I started doing the musicals. It just really evolved into more, and I started taking more of a leadership role in it. But every single part of it was just fun and creative for me. And this whole time, I just loved school. I loved being at school. I loved my teachers. I loved learning, especially math and science. Those subjects come easier to me compared to like reading comprehension and writing. So I excelled pretty naturally in school because I loved it. I truly loved it. I felt safe at school. And when you're growing up, I feel like the careers and stereotypes that people throw at you are, if you're strong and manly, police officer; if you're nurturing, teacher; if you can read and argue really well, lawyer; and then if you're just smart or academically smart, you're a doctor. So to me, out of those 4 options, doctor aligned the most with me. I was academically in tune. I liked school. I liked math and science. And my mom's a nurse, so I was interested in medicine from a young age. I was one of those kids that was putting casts on my dolls and making little ace bandage wraps on their broken wrist and whatever. I enjoyed it, or at least I thought I enjoyed it. So my entire childhood into high school, into college was focused on getting really good grades and being involved in things so that I could get accepted to a good college and then go to medical school. And to really support this, and my parents supported it too, I did a ton of things. I did volunteering, I did medical shadowing, I did medical camps. I did all these things to really hone in on this application that I'm going to be a doctor one day. Now, obviously, I'm not based on the title, so I'll keep this part short and sweet. Basically, I was applying for colleges with two priorities in mind: finances, I didn't want to spend a lot of money, and if they had a medical program. There's this program called dual enrollment where you can apply for college and med school at the same time, basically. So if a college accepts you to their college, they're also saving you a seat at their medical school as long as you get the right scores and the right grades. But this is a huge deal because getting into medical school is very, very difficult. So if you already have your seat saved for you, it is such a lifesaver. And so I knew I was going to apply to colleges that had that. And there were a bunch near where I live. So I was planning on staying in New Jersey. But there was one in Florida that was an outlier that I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to apply. And so I applied. And while I was applying and looking at their website and everything, I saw that they had this arts scholarship. And because I grew up dancing and doing theater and doing musicals, I was like, you know what? I'm going to apply for that too. Why not? It's just another scholarship. I might as well. So I had to submit a portfolio of me performing and an audition basically, and just everything about my performance background. And I ended up getting it, which I was not expecting. But I was so excited. And because of this scholarship, I ended up going to that school. I moved to Florida, which was a huge part of my journey and who I am. Now, this scholarship was not just a scholarship. It was a scholarship program, which means I had to do shows and musicals every single semester to keep my scholarship. So I ended up with a minor in theater while I was doing all my science classes for medical school and studying biology and biochemistry and organic chemistry and all those horrible labs and science classes. I was doing it all at the same time. And while I was in college, I did a ton of other things as well. I worked for the study abroad office. I traveled. I did a million things in college. And if you've gone away to college, you understand that it is a huge change of your life. You change so much in those 4 years that it completely changes your perspective on things, your personality, your interests. You really start to figure yourself out and learn things about yourself. I became friends with people from all different places, different countries even, and it just really shifted my perspective. And throughout these years, a lot of things happened, but I started to realize that medical school is just not for me. This was also during a time where I really started to get into my own wellness. I think this happens a lot in your early 20s when you're moving out, living on your own, in college. You start to cook for yourself, all of these things. I started to really get into my own health and my own wellness. I was also dealing with PCOS and anxiety and getting off birth control, and all these things were happening at the same time. So I started to take an interest in these topics. And honestly, those things also made me interested in medicine because I was interested in health. But also during this time, I started to learn that there are a million other careers in health and wellness outside of being a doctor. You can be super influential in health and wellness without being a doctor. And I started to explore those career opportunities as well. By the way, I don't think I said this yet, but my actual degree is in public health. So I studied that instead of doing a typical biology or a biological sciences degree because I wanted a different perspective. And public health is all things medicine, but also the prevention side of it. So we still learned about pathophysiology and all these different diseases and chronic illness and all these different things. But we also talked about prevention and health behavior theory and how to actually influence people to change their health behaviors. And that's something that I really was interested in and loved. This led me to get my personal training cert and then my nutrition coaching cert and all these other things that are related to health and wellness. But I was exploring these different options and nothing was really sticking. And as I thought about what I wanted to do with my life, something that always came back to me was educating people. And this is something that I actually had a really hard time admitting to myself because I think in my head, I just saw education as the teachers that I had growing up that I loved. But it was that image that I mentioned in the beginning, the floral blouses, the glasses, the same haircut, every teacher kind of looked and acted the same. And I didn't feel like that was who I was. But someone actually said to me, and I'll never forget it. This was like 7 years ago now, but we were having a conversation because I listened to a podcast that was talking about finding your purpose. And, at this time I'm in college, I'm confused on what my purpose is. So I was listening to a lot of self-development stuff. So they were saying when you find your purpose, there's two verbs that kind of are your gifts or your strengths, and those align with your purpose. So some people, it might be to create, and that's a musician or an artist. Some people, it might be to nurture, and maybe they're a nurse or a caretaker. And when I was having this conversation with this person about it, they said to me, I think yours is educate and community. And at this point, I was so offended by this. And I never said that to them. I didn't react, but I did not agree with them. I was like, that is not my purpose. Like, yes, for some people, their purpose is educate. But at this point, I was full blown into this medical school thing. I was not going to go to med school and become a doctor just to be an educator. And it's because I had those stereotypes in my head at this point too. But I will never forget that conversation because literally my life now is all about educating and community. Like, it is crazy how sometimes people see your gifts in you before you ever see them yourself. When I was going through this whole process of becoming a doctor and on that path, yes, I was doing well. Yes, I was getting good grades, but it never fully sat right with me. It never felt like this is what I'm meant to do. It was just kind of, I have the skill set, so I might as well pursue this, but I never felt super passionate about it. It never felt right. And the things that my peers were excited about, I wasn't excited about. I was more excited about the jobs I had and my art shows that I was in, and even doing presentations in class and doing seminars. That's what I liked. I liked the public speaking side of it. I liked presenting in front of the class. Even research. Research is a huge part of becoming a doctor. Like, you have to do research. It looks great on your applications and it just gets you involved. Even the research that I did in college was all about social media in the medical world and how to make social media more accessible and educational and all these different things. I did all this research on using social media in medicine. And it's crazy because that is not, I'm not looking at cells and I'm not looking at these crazy things. I was doing things that are very similar to what I'm doing now. I'll never forget that conversation that I had with that person because that was at a time where I was so lost in my purpose. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I couldn't be further from my purpose now. Now I feel like I am so close and aligned to what I'm truly meant to do. And I feel like I'm aligned with the gifts that I have and I'm actually using them. My two gifts really are educating and community. And it's crazy because I really could not see that back then. I really think your true purpose will always find you. It might take a while, doors might close in your face. A lot of doors might close in your face, but that's just proof that those things aren't meant for you and they're not your journey and they're not your path. And I really believe that, even though in the moment I know it feels like, why aren't these things working out for me? The things that aren't meant for you are not going to work out for you. That goes for jobs, careers, relationships, friendships. That goes for everything. And I really believe that. So yeah, anyway, one thing that you can do is try that exercise out. If you're confused on your purpose, think about the two verbs that you see yourself doing the most of, or you're really naturally good at, or that's your gift, or it brings you happiness, it brings you satisfaction. Think about those things. Maybe it's educate, maybe it's community, maybe it's create, maybe it's inspire, maybe it's to make other people laugh, maybe it's to take care of people. And if you're confused on it, maybe ask someone close to you. Ask someone you know to tell you your gifts, because I think other people around us see our gifts more than we'll see them in ourselves sometimes. I know for me, I never thought of educating people as a strength of mine or a gift of mine, but looking back, that's always been my role in friendships and relationships and at work. I take that step naturally. I like presenting in front of people. I like giving seminars. I like doing workshops. I like doing that. And now here I am with a podcast on it. So obviously it's something I enjoy. And I never would have seen that for myself if that person didn't point it out to me. So yeah, maybe ask someone close to you and see what your gifts are. So anyway, back to the story. Basically, I finish out college as planned. I do the whole thing. I get my degree. I get my minors. I do what I'm supposed to do. I'm qualified for med school. But during this whole process, I just did not feel aligned And towards the end of my college years, that's the time where you really start getting your applications together, taking the MCAT, all these things. And I have a whole speech about this actually on my Instagram because I was the speaker for my graduating class. But I talked about how I got in line to take the MCAT. And in that moment, that was like a choice that I made where I realized this is not for me. This is not what I'm meant to do. This does not feel right. And it was almost one of those gut feelings. Like, you go on a date with somebody and they're good looking and they have a good job and they're nice and they have all the qualities you're looking for, but something just doesn't feel right. Like, in your gut that this is just not the right thing. That's how I felt in this line. I knew that this is the next step. This is the right thing to do, but something was just not sitting right. And something kept telling me, this is not for you. And so even after all those years of science classes and debt and loans and making this my plan, I just made that choice to get out of the line and not do it. And I knew that that was a life-altering decision because I had put so much time and so much energy into pursuing this career. But it's almost like that sunk cost fallacy where it's either I get out now and I waste the years that I've spent, or I continue this and I waste even more years. And for me, I just could not live with the fact that I'm going to make this big decision to go into this career and never be happy in it and not be satisfied in it. And so I got out of line. And when I tell you that moment, even though I had no plan, I had no idea what I was going to do. I have this degree. I've been pursuing this. I felt just immediate relief. That was one of those moments that I just knew I made the right decision and I would figure everything else out after. There's so much freedom in making a decision like that because you realize there are so many possibilities now. Like you have choice to decide what you want to do and you have choice to decide who you want to be. And I just felt like I had so much freedom even though I had no idea what I was going to do. So after college, I moved back to New Jersey and I was trying to figure out a job. And I knew in my head, this does not have to be my forever job. This can just be a job to keep me working, keep me making money, learn some new skills. I've always been a worker. Like I've been working since a very young age, doing all kinds of jobs from selling friendship bracelets and hair bows to actually nannying and lifeguarding and working at an ice cream stand. Like I did all different jobs. I've always worked. And if you're in your early 20s or older, you understand that being in your early 20s is so difficult when it comes to jobs and careers. I feel like nobody talks about going through different jobs. So many people have had multiple jobs before the career they're in now. And for some reason, when you're in your early 20s, it feels like you should just have it all figured out right away on your first job. And that's just not the case at all. Like your first job does not have to be your lifelong career. And honestly, it shouldn't be. There is so much to gain from trying out different jobs, especially if you're confused on what you want to do. You can really figure out what you like, what you don't like, the different work environments. There is so much to gain from it. Plus, you just gain more experience and then you bring that into the next place. And I wish I knew that sooner because when I was younger, I felt so much pressure to just have it figured out, especially because, I had it figured out for so long. For years of my life, I was like, I'm going to be a doctor. I got the dual enrollment. I got accepted to medical school, technically. I had a seat saved for me. And then my last year of college, I just threw it all away and I had absolutely no idea what I was going to do. I just knew that I was making the right decision. So then after college, I was just trying out different jobs. I worked full-time as a personal trainer. I was applying for jobs in international affairs because I had experience in that from college. I was applying to public health jobs. I was applying to coaching jobs. I was applying to all these different jobs and nothing was really landing. I did work full-time as a personal trainer at a commercial gym and I loved that job. I learned so much. I met such amazing people. My clients and I still talk now. And it was such a great job to do. It just wasn't for me full-time forever. And I knew that. I knew that there was more that I wanted to do. I wanted to do more public speaking and educating. But that job really did motivate me and inspire me to start my podcast because I was able to see the things people were struggling with and needed to hear about. So I really do give a lot of credit to that job. But full-time forever, it just wasn't for me. And that's totally fine too. But I still didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. Until one day, my mom just made a joke to me because she knew how I was feeling and going through this. And she said, what if you become a dance teacher? They're hiring dance teachers right now. They need one. And I'm thinking in the back of my head, I can't just become a teacher. I didn't study teaching. I never even took an education class. I cannot become a teacher. I don't know anything about that. And she's like, no, you can sub. There's a program. She knew all about it. And if you didn't know, my mom's a nurse at a high school. She's a school nurse now. So that's how she knows about all this stuff. And she's been there for years. And so she said it like she was joking, but I took it very seriously because I wanted some change. I wanted to do something different and I wanted to figure out what was right for me. So I started meeting with their HR department and I started figuring out what I'm qualified for. And turns out I was qualified to become a dance teacher, which is crazy because I thought you had to do a bunch of other stuff, but my resume also is very diverse. And if you're young, I really recommend diversifying your resume. If you're in high school or early 20s, absolutely do everything. Try out anything that piques your interest at all because you never know where that experience is going to come into play. Like my resume does not really make sense because I have all this different experience and all these different things. But honestly, I think that just makes me a better candidate for jobs and it's worked out in my favor because I have been able to do different things because I'm experienced in different areas. And especially in your early 20s, you don't really know what you want to do. I mean, some people do, but a lot of people don't know what they want to do. Even in their 30s and 40s, people don't know what they want to do. So I think you can really set yourself up by giving yourself diverse experiences. So many of the things that I've gotten to do and the opportunities that I've had have been from the random thing that's on my resume, from the travel experience, the international affairs job, the social media research. Like there have been so many random things on my resume that have worked out in my favor. So I definitely recommend do literally everything. I don't think it's wise to have a resume all for one job because you might be like me and you might build your resume all for one thing and then you might realize, wait, I don't even want to do this one thing and now you're stuck. That's something that I think I did right accidentally as I did everything. Like I did everything in every different aspect and it worked out in my favor. So I applied, I got the job, I started teaching dance and now I'm finishing up my second year and I absolutely love it. I'm still doing my alternate route. So that's a program where you study something else that's not education. And as long as you have a bachelor's degree, you can qualify for teaching in different disciplines depending on your degree and everything like that. But you take classes while you're teaching. So even though I'm a full-time teacher and I get the normal pay and everything like that, I take classes at night. That's why sometimes I post that I have class because it's for my alternate route. So by next year, I'll be done that and then I'll be a certified full-time teacher the way that everyone else is. But your pay stays the same. So if you've ever been interested in education, the alternate route is the way to go. But when I tell you I absolutely love my job, I love my job. I love it for so many reasons. One, at my job, most of the kids have never done a dance class in their life. And I teach about 120 students. And I probably have one student a year that's taken a formal dance class. So on one hand, it's a little bit intimidating because they've never done it before. So you're teaching them from scratch. But I personally love it because I'm teaching them from scratch. I get to be their first exposure and experience to a dance class. And I personally can pride myself on creating a classroom that I think is fun and welcoming. And I teach at a lower income school district and a lot of people, it gets a bad rep. So a lot of people say to me like, I can't believe you teach there. What's that like? Those kids are probably so bad, blah, 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 blah. And when I tell you that is the opposite of what it's actually like, I have some of the sweetest, kindest, most genuine students ever. And this school gets such a bad rep and we all joke about it. Like it is really not that bad. There are so many other worse schools. I love my school. Like I love the administration. I love my students. I absolutely love it. And even some of the worst kids, and I'm putting quotes because I don't think any kid should be called the worst, but even some of the kids that have more behavior problems, they're some of the best in my class because we get to move around, we get to laugh, we get to joke, we get to talk. We're not stuck at a desk looking at a screen all day. We get to actually move and have fun. And that's also what I love about it. It gives the kids like an outlet to do something that's different than sitting at their desk all day. And even though most of them have never danced before, we put on 4 shows a year. They learn every different style. I teach them hip hop, jazz, ballet, modern, contemporary. We do everything. We do cultural dances. We do everything. And it is so much fun. And they are so much more talented than they think. And they're so much more talented than other people might think if they hear they've never done it before. But you'd be surprised how much they can learn in a year. These kids are like sponges. Like they just learn so much. And I love it. I love my job. You can probably hear it through the microphone just how much I love teaching, and I never saw myself teaching, and I'm just so happy every day doing it. Now, obviously, I'll be realistic. It's not perfect every single day. There are times where it's stressful, where it's annoying. You don't want to go in, like all those different things. But that's any job that you go to every single day. I think that that will happen in any job. And if you're 95% happy at your job, that's a good job, you know? And honestly, for me, it's not even the kids that are the hardest part. It's usually the other teachers. Like, I think teaching gets such a bad rep. And, you know, our pay isn't the highest and there are struggle points like any job, but I think we have it pretty good. Like, I was just off for an entire week for spring break that I got paid for. And that's awesome. I literally went to Florida and I had a great trip, and I get to just do that throughout the year. I get summers off. I get every holiday, I get every single weekend. And I appreciate that because I have worked jobs where I worked every Saturday, every holiday, early in the morning, late at night. I worked those jobs. So I appreciate a job that is a normal hour and during the week and holidays off. And even my friends that work typical corporate jobs, they work holidays. They don't get off for Easter. They don't get off the summer. They don't get off at a normal time every day. Sometimes their boss makes them stay late. Sometimes they have to go in early. And I stay late sometimes by choice, but that is never put on me. And I really appreciate that. And I think that more teachers need to see that because teachers complain a lot. I think they're known for complaining a lot, but we have it really good, you know? And even though our pay like isn't the highest because it's teacher pay, we have so much freedom to do a million other things that I think it's worth it. Like, I would love to get paid more, obviously. But even though I work full time as a teacher, I still feel the energy and I still have the time to do a million other things. I have my podcast, I coach on the side, I have ebooks. Like, I can do a million things, no problem, because my job gives me that freedom. And I think that that's something that I never really considered at first because, you know, you think about job, you think about salary, you think about how it looks on your resume, you think about moving up the ladder. But one of the most valuable things, I think, is time. And even if your pay is lower, but you have more time, I think that that matters. Same with your energy. Even if your pay is lower, but you leave and you don't feel burnt out and you have energy to do other things, that matters. Yes, your retirement matters. Yes, your Roth IRA matters. Yes, all these different things matter. But so does your time and so does your energy. And those are two things that I have worked jobs where I didn't have those two. And I was much more miserable even if I had more money. You know what I'm saying? So if you're in the job hunt and you're looking for your career, consider those things as well. Consider the life you want to live outside of work. Because even though I love my job and I feel like it aligns with my purpose, I would not be satisfied if I didn't have time to do the other things that I do. And my job gives me that, and I'm grateful for that. I want to be able to spend time with my friends, do my podcast, do other things, travel, and my job lets me do all of those things. So I really cannot complain. I love it so much. And looking back on my life, it just makes total sense. If there's one person in this world who should have known that I was going to become a dance teacher, it's my little brother. He's 19 now, but me and him are 5.5 years apart. So when we were growing up, he was like my little minion. Like, I made him go into my basement every single day with me to be in my classroom. Sometimes I taught him math, but most of the time it was dance class, and I would take fake attendance. I wouldn't even call him his name. I would call him Morgan because I wanted him to be a girl. And I would make him do the pliés, the relevés. That was my dance class, and he had to be there, him and my stuffed animals. And that was my favorite game to play as a kid. So it's crazy that that's literally my life now. And it all worked out. And so if there's anything that I can leave you guys with, it's first of all, your purpose will always find you. Whether you want to find it or not, it's going to find you. And I'm telling you, once you start following that, you will feel so much more peace and so much more alignment in your life. So trust your purpose, listen to your gut, and also don't be scared to try out different things. You do not need to have it all figured out. You do not need to listen to that dream career that you made for yourself when you were 8 years old, right? 8-year-olds make tons of bad decisions. They're eating popsicles and chicken tenders, and they don't eat anything on an adult menu. So do you really want to listen to that 8-year-old? Probably not, right? You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to try different things. And honestly, I recommend it. I think it makes you more well-rounded. It makes you appreciate what you do have. There's so many benefits. You learn different skills, you meet different people. It's a good thing to do different things. I know it can be easy to compare, especially in your early 20s when all your friends start doing different things. And some might look like they have it all figured out. And if they actually do, that's fantastic and be proud of them. But honestly, they probably don't. Because who does? Even I'll talk to people that are in their 60s and they don't feel like they have it figured out because we're all just figuring it out. So don't compare your life to someone else's. I know it's corny to say like you're on your own timeline, but we really are. And that's the whole purpose anyway, is to figure out what you're good at and do that and be of service to other people. If your gift is to educate or create or whatever it is, you would not be doing yourself justice or the people around you justice if you didn't listen to that and pursue that. And plus, you'll just feel so much happier and so much more at peace when you do follow that. And also, I know I keep saying following your purpose, but sometimes your actual job isn't your purpose, but the job you have allows you to follow your purpose. And I think that's important too, because I'm saying my purpose is educate and community, but it doesn't just happen at work. It happens outside of work because I'm able to educate through my podcast and through everything else that I do. So just keep that in mind too. If you're working a job that you don't think necessarily aligns with your purpose, but it gives you the freedom to follow your purpose, that's a good job too. And maybe I'll do a whole episode on finding your purpose and aligning with it if that's something you guys are interested in. So let me know. So yeah, thank you for listening. I know this was more of like a story time personal anecdote, but I thought it was something that would be interesting to share because my path has not been very clear and linear, and that's okay. Follow the Instagram at the Wellness Club XO and follow me on TikTok at Cass Camp with 2 P's. I've been posting on TikTok now, and I'm telling you, this has helped the podcast grow already. So I'm definitely going to keep it up. Connect with me on there. And if you found me from TikTok, hello, thank you for listening and making it to the end. So I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.